Good morning and welcome to the Younib Breakfast Show with me, Peninah Wachera. I hope you guys have woken up well and are excited to face your day. Yeah? I'm so glad that you have decided to start your day with us here at the Younib Breakfast Show. Yeah, as it is the norm here at the Younib Breakfast Show, let's go straight to the morning bite of the day. Today we are going to have a conversation or a discussion when it comes to eating disorder. Most of the time we talk about body positivity, but how many of us secretly obsess over our weight, our calories, and mostly our appearance, yeah? So where does healthy eating really cross the line into a dangerous territory? And to help us debunk this conversation of the day, we have a familiar face. We have Rodgers with us in studio today to help us actually be able to talk about this conversation. Yeah. Good morning, Rodgers.
Good morning too.
How is your morning?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm also doing good. Yeah. So today we're speaking about eating disorders. Yeah. And I want us to just go straight to the conversation. Yeah. Because most people already know you. Yeah. Okay. So what are some of the biggest misconceptions about eating disorders that you encounter in your practice?
Yeah, thank you so much, Peninah. And I won't fail to thank you for having me yet again here.
You're welcome.
I think I already feel at home.
Yes, you should actually, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm also happy to share about the topic of discussion today, as we even continue to expound our knowledge on mental health. So going straight to the topic, we're talking about eating disorders today. Yeah. And I'll start by defining what it is. Yeah, so eating disorders, these are eating behaviors that are eating behaviors that have negative effect on our physical and on our mental health. So they are eating behaviors that have deviated from the normal. Yeah, meaning that they can either be either extremely high or extremely low, but they consequently affects our health negatively, either our physical or our negative health. So some of the common, you've asked about some of the common misconceptions that I encounter in my work when dealing with eating disorders. Yeah, one of the most common misconception is that there's no eating disorder. People assume that there's this misconception that people from other communities or from other tribes naturally eat eat a lot. So, for example, if you have, maybe if you're binging, meaning that you're consuming large amounts of food, people will automatically assume that you're coming from Western or from Luya land. Yes. And then when your appetite is also not that good, people will maybe assume that you're coming from a different community. So that's one of the misconceptions. Yeah. The other misconception is that eating cannot be a disorder. Because you see, yes, we need food for energy and to make us survive. So people assume that you can just eat anyhowly and that that cannot be associated with any condition. But the truth is that eating can be a disorder. Yeah.
And we have had people saying, yes, eating might not be a disorder. So what people think, or many people think eating disorders are just about food and weight, yeah? So what are the deeper psychological and emotional factors that are at play when it comes to eating disorders?
So some of the factors that come into play when we're dealing with eating disorders, perhaps I can just mention some of the eating disorders that are common. We have something called anorexia nervosa. Anorexia nervosa is when someone refuses to eat because they fear getting fat. So they refuse to eat, or when they eat, they purge that food. They vomit the food so that it doesn't get them. They don't add weight as a result. Then the other eating disorder is called bulimia nervosa, where someone now is the opposite of anorexia, where someone eats excessively. But at the same time, they also purge, because at the same time, as much as they're eating too much, they fear getting weight. Then we have what we call binge eating. Now, people with binge eating disorders, then they eat anything and everything at any time. Actually, these are people that we say that they cannot sleep with food in the same house. If perhaps they cook some food and then they leave some in the fridge for consumption the next day, they'll make an effort that the food does not sleep, don't sleep there. So back to your specific question, that some of the factors that come into play when dealing with eating disorders. I've mentioned something about body image. There are people who have distorted body image or self-image. There are people who, when we talk about distortion, is that something that is not accurate, is not factual. It's something that you've created in your own mind, and it could be contributed by illogical thinking. So let's say, for example, someone who has anorexia nervosa, I've said that they fear getting big. They want to maintain a very thin body, yeah. And so you find that because of that distortion, they will avoid food. Or if they eat, they purge the food. Then there are people who also fear, those who fear getting fat, and then there are those who also fear getting thin. So you find that they do the opposite. Yes.
Okay. Can we classify overeating as an eating disorder? Because some people may use overeat during a time of stress. Yeah, so it can be.
Yes, exactly. So I think let me clarify on that. Eating disorders are they're classified, they're very specific. So they qualify as a disorder by their own, because there are other factors that are pushing this person to develop this condition. But you also write that eating can be used as a coping mechanism to manage other conditions. Let's say for someone who's battling depression, they might either choose not to avoid food completely or use food as a coping mechanism. So they might overeat, or what we refer to as binging. Yeah, so they might eat, but when they're using it to cope with another condition, then that's not a disorder by its own. It's just a coping mechanism for the other disorder. But yeah, as a result, also it might develop now as a disorder. You might start it as a coping mechanism, and then it develops as a disorder. And perhaps to put that into perspective, just similar to other mental conditions, you might find that someone is battling trauma, and then they turn to alcohol as a means of coping with the trauma, and then consequently they develop addiction, which is also another distinct mental health condition. So you see, like it started as a coping mechanism, but now brought in about another mental condition. Yeah, so let's say the same context, someone is battling depression, uses eating as a coping mechanism, but now become a binge eater, which is now a distinct disorder, a distinct mental health condition.
Awesome. Yes. I hope we are following up with this conversation, because it's one of close to many, yeah, because most of the people we always eat to live, yeah. So I want you guys to also send in your questions, if you have any, when it comes to the matter eating disorders, yeah, through our social media platform, Younib_TV on Instagram, Younib Media TV on Facebook, and there's a number on your screen. You can SMS or WhatsApp 0719 144 144. Yeah, remember this show is proudly brought to you by Miss Yo Ashen and Younib Organization, and we're trying to reach out to the community to teach you on matters mental health. So if you need any help with your mental health, you can always call the number 0700 352 250, and our very own psychologist will be able to help you out. For now, let's take this short break, and we'll be back with this conversation. Welcome back. This is still the Younib Breakfast Show with me, Peninah Wachera, here at Younib TV. Yeah? And today we're speaking about eating disorders. Have you ever found yourself with eating disorders? Ama kama haujajua eating disorders ni nini? We are here to just debunk this conversation, to inform you on matters eating disorders. So ujue whether you have been a consistent, mostly umezoea kukula tu unhealthily, ama you have a problem when it comes to your mental health, mostly when it comes to eating. Sindio? So remember, you can always interact with us through our social media platform, Younib_TV on Instagram, Younib Media TV on Facebook, and there's a number on your screen. You can SMS or WhatsApp 0719 144 144. And remember, if you need any psychological help, you can always call the number 0700 352 250, and our very own psychologist will be able to help you out here. So back to the conversation, Rodgers. How can someone really distinguish between unhealthy eating habits and eating disorders?
Okay, thank you so much, Peninah. So I think that's a very good place to start with, that we should be able to distinguish between unhealthy eating habits and eating disorders. Yeah. As I stated earlier, an eating disorder is a clinical condition, meaning that this is something that has persisted for some time, and also it requires a diagnosis, and the diagnosis can only be done by a trained clinical professional. Yeah. But far from that, we have some eating habits that also deviate from the norm, but they do not qualify as eating disorders. Like the people who prefer eating junk food, so chipo and snacks, which we term to be, those are, people refer to them as unhealthy eating habits, because those junk foods, they say that they have low nutritional value to the body. But then we'll find that some people might become obese as a result of eating junks. The people who just, sometimes depending with culture also, the people who prefer certain type of food. Let's say, for example, it's said that people who come from Western cannot do without ugali. Yeah. And then people who come from the mountain, they prefer eating githeri and waru. Yeah. So we find that those are habits. That's perhaps how someone is used to. Also, depending on quantity, the people who naturally prefer to eat small portions but frequently. There's someone who prefers to eat large quantity over a long period of time. Those are habits, and they are good habits, but we also have bad eating habits. So habits are not disorders. But a habit is not a disorder. A habit is something that you do repeatedly to a point that it has become automatic, and it can be either good or bad. Like a good eating habit is drinking plenty of water. That's a good eating habit, when you're able to drink plenty of water. A bad eating habit is like consuming food which has a lot of fat, especially the unsaturated, the saturated fat. You need the solid fats. Yeah. So as I've said, those are habits, but now a disorder is something that is clinically diagnosed, and it's something that requires psychological interventions before it can be treated. Yes.
So Rodgers, we are in a digital time, and nowadays everything is digital. We have social media and different ways of connecting when it comes to the internet. Yeah. So how does really, or what is the role of social media in the rise of eating disorders?
Okay. So I think, as you said, we're in a digital age, where we consume a lot from the social media. Yeah. And so it has been said that eating disorders are also very common with the youth, the young people, as compared to other age brackets. And it's also known that it's the youth who are the frequent social media users. Yeah. So one thing that is so common with eating disorders, one of the signs that is common with eating disorders is a distorted body image. It's like the people who struggle with eating disorders, especially the anorexia nervosa and the bulimia nervosa. Anorexia is those people who want to maintain the slim size, and the bulimia are those people who they eat too much, but at the same time they also want to maintain a particular size. So they usually have distorted body images. That's one of the one of the things that's common with them. And so this disordered body image, they could be getting it from the social media. Like, for example, if they look at the socialites and those celebrities, they see that perhaps there's a way they're carved, or there's a particular size that they maintain. So the youth, in their attempt perhaps to maintain, to copy the same image, they might turn to some eating habits, which might bring about eating disorders when trying to copy those images. Yeah. So that's how social media actually contributes to the youth getting into eating disorders, when they try to copy some images, and in the attempt to do so, they develop unhealthy eating habits. Yeah.
Okay, when we were speaking, I had you say something about trauma. So how does trauma or childhood experiences really contribute to disordered eating or eating disorders? Sorry.
Eating disorders. Yeah. So you also realize that majority of these eating disorders, they've also been said that they start at childhood and then mature into adolescence and into early adulthood. So any eating disorder has been characterized as a mental health condition. So being a mental health condition, it means that it has some form of psychological or emotional cause or effect. It means that there's a mental issue that causes it, or there's a mental health issue. There's an effect on mental health when you engage in those habits. And so when we look at a mental health issue that can cause eating disorder, is like, for example, when a child is body shamed, when maybe they're not loved accordingly, or they are bullied according to their body size. So perhaps they were repeatedly told, maybe there were those bubbly children, those children who are a bit fat, and so that was repeatedly told to them, and maybe it didn't sit well with them. So growing into adolescence, they might do everything possible to do what? To cut on weight. Yeah. So they might be the thing that they might be doing to cut on weight is by denying themselves food, or when they eat, they purge the food. So that's how that experience. See, that's something that was done to them when they were children, but now they developed a habit trying to now cope with that situation, and it got them into an eating disorder. Yes. I think that we can use that as an example.
Yeah. Okay. It's awesome that you're getting to learn more about eating disorders, and I hope all of us are following up with this conversation. Yeah. If you feel like you have a question when it comes to this conversation, please feel free to interact with us through our social media platform, Younib_TV on Instagram, Younib Media TV on Facebook, and there's a number on your screen. You can SMS or WhatsApp 0719 144 144. For now, I want us to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll get to know what are the signs that lead to, or that can show us that we have issues with eating disorders. Welcome back. This is still the Younib Breakfast Show here at Younib TV. Yeah? So before the break, I had said that we are coming to know the signs, the tell signs of I have an eating disorder. So please take us there.
Okay, so I think I'll mention the signs that are common for almost all the disorders. There's one that I've consistently talked about, the distorted body image. Yeah, so as I mentioned, that a distorted body image, that a body image that is not real, is not actual, is only something that exists in your mind. You might look at yourself in the mirror and think that you are so fat, but in reality, it's not. So I think I need to clarify that when someone is overweight, or when you are of a significant weight and want to cut on that weight, that's not distortion, because that's something that is actual. And even if you resort to some habits, like the people who even fast, in addition to exercising, that is healthy. So when you talk about distortion, this is something that is not, it's not real. It's you who is feeling that you're fat, but in reality, you're not fat. And so the habits that you are indulging in are actually doing more harm to you than good. And so this distorted body image is what results to people to deny themselves food because they don't want to grow fat. Or those people who now overeat and purge the food, they vomit the food. Yeah, with an attempt of not growing fat. Yeah, yeah. So that's one of the common signs. Yeah. So the other sign that is common with eating disorders is that there are those people who restrict themselves from eating at all. Someone might go for a whole week just drinking water, or lemon water, for that case. You see, when you're drinking lemon water, by itself, it has very limited nutritional value, because now you're missing on proteins, you're missing on carbohydrates, you're missing on fats. Maybe just going to get some vitamins from the lemon juice, and so that will have negative effects on your physical health to start with, and also on your mental health. So the restriction of food. So that those people who now don't restrict but they overeat. Now those people who have the opposite of anorexia, those who overeat, and them, they can overeat to an extent that food is finished. They don't eat to get satisfied. They eat to finish or to get tired. Actually, there's a common joke that is said that such people cannot sleep with food in the same room. Or I've also heard of another joke that, though this was a bit unconventional, that if they see water boiling, they cannot boil water for taking a bath, because if the water boils, they have to add either flour into it or something, because their appetite is unmatched. Yeah. And so there's also some shame. The other sign is some shame that comes with eating, because, for example, someone who is a binger, someone who eats excessively, you see, they won't be comfortable eating with other people. Yeah, so you find that perhaps they might isolate themselves. If food is served in the room, wakiwa kwa group, alafu food is served, nasema hapana, mimi niekewe yangu ndakula kando, because they feel perhaps ashamed on the quantity or the rate at which they eat with. And also, it might break relationships, because I'm trying to imagine when food has been served and then you want to consume the big share, and perhaps other people will miss. That will definitely, yeah, it will bring issues. It can lead to other issues. So the last one that I'll talk about are now the people who eat food that has no nutritional value. Yeah, people who battling eating disorders. Some of them might result to eating food that have no nutritional value, because they just want the stomach to, for example, those people who have anorexia nervosa, those people who don't want to get fat. So they might, to keep the stomach busy, because you see, when the stomach has no food, bile inakuwa mingi kwa tumbo, and that can lead to other health conditions. So they might prefer that instead of staying hungry, let me just eat something, but that thing has no nutritional value. So might find themselves eating chalks, eating soil, eating things that they definitely cannot add any nutrients to their body. Yes. So those are some of the signs to look
up for. Yeah, and I hope we've gotten to understand the signs. Remember, it's not good for you to diagnose yourself. Yeah, I think that's very important to be said, because I remember I was just going through social media, and I saw somebody say that I am OCD, and the doctor was asking them, who diagnosed you? You have OCD, who said so? So it's important for us to ensure that we get it from a professional. Yeah, we don't just do it for ourselves. Yes, the signs are here for information, but it's important, if you need help, you can always just go to a professional. And if you feel like it's too expensive, we are offering it here for free. And if you just need the help, you can always call the number 0700 352 250, and our psychologist will be able to help you know whether you have it or not. Yeah, so let's not self-diagnose. Yeah. So we've gotten to understand what eating disorder is all about. We've gotten to see the signs. So how can it be managed?
Oh, okay. So as you said, managing eating disorders, first of all, it starts with information, like what we're doing when we are disseminating this information out there. Then people are able to be aware with what they're struggling with. Yeah. So when you are aware, then you can go to the next step, which is seeking help or treatment. Yeah. And let me say that treating eating disorders, they're not as pronounced, they're not as common as other mental health conditions, like depression or anxiety or schizophrenia, those very or addiction. So you find that they rarely occur, or sometimes they don't occur even by themselves. They occur concurrently with other mental health conditions. Yeah. So when someone has an eating disorder, they'll undergo therapy just like the same way a person who has another issue will undergo therapy. But the very most important thing, as I've said, is the information, being aware, because you cannot receive help if you're not aware of what you are battling with. Yeah. But mostly it is treated through therapy, and now that targets the specific cause, what is contributing to this eating disorder. Yes.
Okay, so as we are wrapping up, I'd like to know, or if somebody is listening to us or watching us today and suspects that they have an unhealthy relationship with food, what's the first step they should take? If
you do suspect that you have an unhealthy relationship with food. Yeah. So I think the first thing is you'll be able to evaluate yourself. Because for you to suspect that perhaps you have an eating disorder, then it's something that has happened consistently and over time for a long period of time. Yeah. So you're able to perhaps keep track of your eating habits for a long period of time, maybe for a month or 2 months, and then see if you might suspect that it's an eating disorder, or it's just another way of coping with another situation. Okay. Or maybe your appetite can also go up for different reasons. Yeah. Let's say, for example, if a lady is expectant, you might find that the appetite might change. Children, as they grow into adolescence, they sometimes get very high appetite. Yeah. So you're able to self-evaluation to start with. You're able to keep track of your eating habit for 1 month. If it's causing you distress, if it's causing you disturbances, then you can now take the next step to seek for professional help. You can also get feedback, from maybe trusted friends, from family. If there are people are always complaining, let's say, for example, for those people who don't eat, people can tell you that, hey, you're not eating and perhaps you've lost weight, because with eating disorders, distorted body image. So for you, you might just assume that you're okay, but you see other people are noticing. Yeah, so if there are people that you trust, definitely, you might take it as a concern and seek professional help. And the other thing is when you have other mental health conditions, because as I've said, these eating disorders, sometimes they exist concurrently with other disorders. Yeah, so perhaps you might be depressed, and then you've turned to food as a coping mechanism, and then consequently you've developed an eating disorder. Yeah, so also when you're battling with other conditions, it's good to seek for help to avert developing other issues. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for coming and enlightening us on matters eating disorders. I hope we've taken notes and we've gotten to learn more about it. Yeah, so asante sana. Umekaribishwa tena na tena na tena. Yes, thank you so much. To everyone who has made this show a success, thank you so much to Eunice, who has been our camera person and our timekeeper. Asante sana. Also, a word of gratitude to Rose Chege for being our floor manager, and also to Elias Muchina for being our set designer. Yeah, so I hope you guys have enjoyed this show, and remember, you can always tune into Younib Breakfast Show every Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 8:30 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, until next time, do have yourselves a beautiful day ahead. Goodbye.